And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Oh my god, that is not a result that I was expecting as we're diving into game number 2. And if you are in the chat, predictions are open. We are jumping in mid-series. We missed out on game number 1, and apparently we missed out on a banger of a game because spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the best Zerg player in South Korea, but he is down in this series, down 0-1. Can he bounce back? Representing Talent Esports, it is Dark. Predictions open. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have its opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss leading the series 1-0. 1 game away from advancing on into the grand finals. It is NightMare. Now again, we did miss out on game number 1. Unfortunately, I don't know what did occur. It was a bit of a longer game, around 14 to 15 minutes or so. But yeah, already a surprising result as Dark, he's moving out for a hatch block. Let's go. It's going to be a hatchery into a spawning pool. We do have quite an opener, but alas, ooh, the drone does not get in. Does not get here in time. The Nexus has been thrown down, and Dark is forced to throw down his gas and his spawning pool as quickly as possible. We're going to be going for a gas steal instead into the main, doing what we can, being a nuisance here. Again, gas stealing against Protoss can be quite annoying because the gases are quite important in the early game. So it does force 4 probes off the mineral line. Quite a bit of lost mining time here from NightMare. As we cancel, going for another extractor trick. Going for another gas geyser, another gas steal. Dark being such a nuisance. But at least NightMare is able to expand. At least he does manage to get his Nexus up and running. And we're settling into our game. Going for another extractor trick there. Going for another gas steal. Going to be delaying the gas taken by NightMare for quite some time. And with that, we are going to be calming things down. I don't know why, but seeing like gases being canceled like that, my brain just like, oh, extractor trick. Oh, and it's not a 15-15. What's going on? not quite what I'm referring to. The gas is going to finish in the main. Oh, that is an interesting choice, and I imagine that was a choice here from Dark. But alas, at this point, NightMare, he just takes his natural gas instead. At this point, you just take your gas elsewhere. Not worth wasting time killing that gas geyser, not yet, as he's being active across the map with his adepts. Now, alongside this, the downside for Dark is that his link speed is going to be a little bit later than normal, just because of the unorthodox opener and unorthodox build. It's called a Vespian gas, not natural. No, it's natural, Papi. It's natural. It's authentic. Esther Hyper 1, shaking my head. Who is this, Aistan? What are you doing here? As we do see NightMare just gonna be threatening these adepts in towards that main base. Gonna be keeping Dark on his toes. Link speed does kick in. As it kicks in, NightMare is racing back home. And interesting follow-up here. We're going for a robo and a bait. Wait, what? NightMare. He's cooking, Pap. He is cooking. He's playing 2 base. Does make it home just in time. The Lings, they do arrive, but we have a full wall set up. Ooh. As the 3rd base is going to be delayed. Meanwhile, looking at the vision of Dark, he has not seen the tech. Again, it is going to be a robo first into a bait, into I imagine Colossus. We could go for a disruptor drop as well. That is possible. With a prism first, most likely going to be a disruptor. As they're following it up with a Twilight Council, a very unorthodox build here from NightMare. We'll see how it all comes together. We'll see how it all comes together here as he is attempting to take his 3rd. And he should be able to hold on to it. Behind this, Dark already threw down a Roach Warren, a very early Roach Warren here from Dark. Safety Spore on the way. He's getting ready for DTs. The Dark Templar. Again, he has no idea what's coming. He's getting ready for the worst. Glaive Adepts or Dark Templar. Little does he know, it was Colossus, not Disruptor. Okay. Interesting. So we have a Colossus rush here from NightMare, working towards Blink behind it. This should be an all-in. This should be like a strong timing with 2 Colossi. That would make sense in my mind. As I say that though, Dark, he's amassing a lot of Lings. This makes sense. So traditionally, if you're up against something like Glaive Adepts, you'd be amassing up Lings and Roaches, you'd be shutting down the army and then going for a big counterattack. And if NightMare isn't too aggressive with these Adepts, Dark should be hitting this third base. And that's what he's going for. There we go, he's going for a big push. Now with the help of these Colossi, does NightMare defend? Does he shut this down? It's gonna be close. But it's all or nothing for Dark. He's going for his all-in. NightMare, I think he was planning this. I think he was hoping for this. And especially with all these Ling reinforcements, they're gonna melt against the Colossi. Disruptor behind this as well. Blink still not quite done. Colossus is revealed. Now Dark knows. He's going in nonetheless. Again, his goal here is to try to snipe it. He's going for the dive. Good juggling here from NightMare. Saves the Colossus. Never goes off. Does connect. Takes down 1 Ravager. But the Colossus takes a lot of hits. And Dark, it looks like he's snowballing out of control. He breaks through the defensive line. Gets on top of the Colossus as well. Still barely alive. Wow, but he snipes the Prism. It goes down to the Vials. Bit of miscontrol out of NightMare. And we're breaking in. Ooh, the Vials, they connect with the Disruptor as well. And behind this, a third will go down. So the control was a little bit lacking there from NightMare. I could be mistaken, but I think his Colossus took a Nova Shot as well, which is why it got so low so quickly. So a bit of a fumble defense. With that, Dark is looking good. Dark is going for this round. Does force the blink. Never going to be going up. Oh! Gets a Ravager. Does get a Ravager. And behind this, Dark, he's just droning up as best he can. He's on 3 bases, soon to get a 4th. Lair is on the horizon. And from here, we can freely just double down on Ling Main Roach Ravager, and we can make NightMare's life so difficult when it comes to expanding and actually saturating this third base. It's going to be so difficult. It's going to be a nightmare. There we go. We go first round. We do manage to catch the Stalkers as well. A lot of Stalkers going to be falling. We take the Vials to the face. Blink was on cooldown. And just like that, NightMare, he gets completely shut down. He barely has an army. And Dark, he's chilling. He's droning, working on upgrades. We have +1 melee on the way. We have Roach Speed as well. So melee, Roach Speed, Baneling Nest. There's no rush for Dark. As he's chilling back at home, he will hit across the map with his Lings. And does he force a cancel? Uh-oh. Does cancel the shield batteries. It's a kill on one of them. But at least the Nexus does stand strong. Does survive. Dark from here, he's backing off. He's joining up to 60. That's 3-base saturation. Or getting up to 3-base saturation. With 5 more drones on the way. And we'll see if Dark stops droning here. I would be expecting a 3-base all-in out of Dark, where you cut workers at 66 at most. And you just double down on Ling Bane Roach Ravager. As he should know that NightMare, he's kind of stumbling his way into the mid-game. Yeah, and Dark, he is focusing on army supply, focusing on army production. He smells blood in the water. He knows how vulnerable NightMare is. I mean, if somehow NightMare can survive this push, then he can recover, right? Because NightMare, he's teching up, working on upgrades, building up his economy. Dark, he is not droning. So if we can somehow survive this, then we wouldn't be in a bad place. But that's easier said than done. As Dark is about to max out. He's got 7 Overlords on the way. Bit of a supply block there for Dark. But there we go. That's 32 Banelings. Sorry, 51 Banelings in production. Oh my god. Baneling speed has completed. And here we go. Dark ready to pull the trigger at 170 supply. He's got the concave, he's got the arc. Do you have some disruptors? Well, where's the Colossus? It's across the map. Never goes off. Decent connection. Decent connections here with these Novas. But we still have far too much. We can still overwhelm. Ooh, good connection once again from those disruptors. We break through the Stalkers. We get into the mineral line. Probes are going down, and this third base is going to go down for a second time. And despite the Novas, despite the connections, does not matter. But the Colossus, it goes down as well. It got so much value here over the course of the game, but GG gets called and Dark ties up the series 1-1. We're going to the ace match. Let's go. Let us go. NightMare let Dark gas seal. Yes, that's why NightMare pulled the boys to focus down the gas and have some lost mining time. That shaking my head. Shaking my head, Bobby. But there we go. We do have a tied up series here. We are going to the ace match. Let's go. Let us go. So yeah, really interesting build out of NightMare. If you remember, he did go for a Robo opener, went for a Robo into Colossi. Was an interesting build. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to hold on to that third base. I feel like we could have maybe held on there, but alas, the Colossus took a lot of damage, was forced back. Yeah, the control was a little bit lacking there. It was a little bit up in the air, and in the end, Dark did overwhelm. And now we find ourselves in Game 3, in the ace match. Let's go. Let us go. But yeah, it was really cool to hear. Oh, sorry, I didn't even get to mention it, but a big shout out to Dave Testa for the raid. Do appreciate it here. Dave was, of course, casting, and Dave is one of the big names behind the KSL. Without Dave Testa, without Chicken Man, the Korean StarCraft League would not be possible, would not be a thing. So thank you so much for everything that you have done for the scene and for the casting that you did earlier. Apparently Dave was casting with the StarCraft Historian. Really cool to hear. Really nice to see. But it looks like Dave is going to be tapping out here for the night. And we are going to be picking up where he left off. As morning. In the bottom right hand corner of site Delta, we have our South Korean Zerg player, our Red Zerg, representing Talon Esports, tying up the series 1-1. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player, the Blue Protoss, representing himself, currently teamless, deserving to be on the team, as he did force at least the ace match here out of his opponent. It is NightMare. Here we go. Dark moving out with his drone, looking to take the unnatural natural. It does take it here at the triangular position. And NightMare, of course, I'm sure content, forcing a more uncomfortable start here out of Dark, at least in the early game. Again, you can never be too sure as to whether or not Dark is going for a third or going for a hatch block, as we saw in Game 1. Is willing to spice it up. He is willing to, as NightMare is just getting into his own standard opener, gate expand. Do love to see it. We go. He's just getting into his gate expand. And we're easing into Game 2. Really, I'm just got my eyes on NightMare to see what kind of tech he goes for. It was just so surprising, and I was caught so off guard to see NightMare rush into Colossi the way that he did in game number 2. But I doubt we're going to be seeing another Robo opener. I'm feeling something more standard, but I mean, clearly NightMare can do anything under the sun. Not afraid to whip anything out here, so we'll see. We'll wait for the Cybercore. Based on the pylon placements, again, hard to tell. It does look like a Twilight Council opener, but we'll see. Stargate is still viable. Very much so. Probe's going to be pulling out. There it is, Stargate here right next to the main. The pylon was thrown down closer to the mineral line. The way this works, it's a bit of a give and take. Because the pylon is right next to the mineral line, it does mean that your mining time is reduced, or you're able to get back into mining as quickly as possible because it isn't thrown down further out here at the edge of the main. The downside is it takes your oracle a lot longer to get across the map. So there's a bit of a give and take there with that placement. It is technically more efficient economic wise. It is more efficient. As our first adept is going to be moving out across the map, we have to be very careful with our adepts. If we throw them away, then things can get out of hand, and this makes more sense here. It is a Void Ray first, not an Oracle. Now we understand why we didn't go for the pylon closer to the edge. I did mention that that does reduce the time it takes for the Oracle to get across the map, but we're not going across the map. We're going for the Overlords. Adept does get away, does get 2 drone kills. Overlord is going to be shut down. Darky does confirm the Void Ray. Now, with this, we could even go into additional Void Ray production. Because the Stargate is further in, you can actually hide the follow-up unit. We do reveal the Oracle, at least for now. The Overlord does fall. Oracle is on the way. And behind this, we can go into a second Stargate. We can go for a Twilight Council into a Glaive of Depths. We can go for a Robo. There's a lot available here, and Dark is going to be in the dark. Going for a 4-minute lair. Very interesting. Okay. A very fast lair here out of Dark. I'm concerned. With the amount of queens that we have, are we going to be going for something like Drop Lords? Do we go for a Nidus, a Ling Queen Nidus all in? What is the plan with this lair? A very aggressive response. I'm leaning on the Ling Queen Nidus all in just because we don't have any Overlord speed. As I say that, we are still droning though. Void Ray is being forced back. Oracle dips in towards that third base, but is zoned away. And our follow-up is going to be a Forge. Sorry, it's going to be a Twilight Council, no Forge, which screams Glaive Adepts. And there it is. Glaives is on the way. If this were to be something like Blink or Charge, it would typically be alongside a Forge for +1. +1 does not affect the power of the Adept, but doesn't really impact its effectiveness here. And there it is in fact a Ling Queen Nidus all in. Again, because there was no Overlord speed, that's really all it could be. We didn't take any additional gases. I'm curious how this shapes up though. Ling Queen Nidus all in against Glaive Adepts. A lot of this will depend on how many Warp Winds we get, how many Adepts we do have. As you know, we are banking up 4 Adepts here in the natural. There is a Ling in position. Overseer headed to the main base. And here we go. Here come the Adepts. Now what's scary here, there's no Roach Warren. And now Dark knows. Now he realizes how much danger he's in. Bailey Nest gets thrown down, but that is a late Bailey Nest. Uh-oh. Dark, he is in a bit of trouble here. The Nidus has been scouted. Big moment for NightMare. He knows. Behind this, shield battery on the way at the third. Robo in production at the natural. More shield batteries being thrown down. And he does zone away that Overseer. And now we're pivoting away. Infestation Pit. Swarm Host? I mean, we have a Nidus Swarm, so it makes sense. May as well make use of Swarm Host. So we can see Dark being very fluid here. He recognizes that he got scouted, so the all-in is not going to work. So he's no longer going for a Ling Queen Nidus all-in, he's pivoting away. He is droning. And we'll see what is done with that Infestation Pit. I'm feeling Swarm Host, but we'll see. As Lings are pulling back, gases are being taken. We could try to go for a Fast Hive. Our upgrades will most likely be melee. We could try to go Fast Hive into Ultras. That's another option. Still yet to be determined. As Lings are still being very active on the map. Usually when Dark does go mass Ling like this, then something like a Hive Rush is on the table. But we're going for +1 range. Okay. Very interesting. We're actually not making use of the Infestation Pit. Oh, there we go. There's a Swarm Host. There we go. Did mention it again. Because we already have the Nidus Swarm, it makes sense to go into Swarm Host to make use of it. Just waiting for it to be thrown down. We have a safety roach one on the way, which means we're only making a handful of swarm hosts. It's going to be 10 swarm hosts, and from here we're going to be pivoting into Ling Roach Ravager. Dark still being very active with his Lings. As we're just keeping our opponent busy here, we have Lings harassing that third. Overseer into the main. Nidustorm does complete. The Stormhosts are going for the natural. Oh, and it was heard, and looks like the creep was not spotted. Locust Wave for that main base. We have a stasis trap. Oh! And a big connection. Very nice stasis there from NightMare. He shuts down the first wave. It does no damage. That was perfect. That was, oh my god. Yeah, Locust Wave does nothing. And behind this, we're going to Sky Toss. I love this. I love this from NightMare. Taking up into Sky Toss. Laying around by, oh, he's gonna get shut down. Dark bleeding out a lot, going for a second Locust Wave. This time he forces back the probes. Ooh, gets shut down by the Colossi. And this is getting worrisome. This is getting scary here for Dark. He needs these Swarm Hosts to gain value. Looks like he gets a couple of Stalkers at least. Going for the Colossi. Goes to the dive and up! No overcharge. Bit of a step of no overcharge. Both Colossi go down. Late reaction at NightMare. Aye, that should not have happened. Again, the overcharge was popped just as the Colossi were dying. And suddenly, Dark, not looking too bad. Those are some high value pickoffs there. Behind this, building up his Roach army. Getting into Ling Roach. Another Nidustorm is on the way. Is spotted by NightMare. Will deny it. We'll get tonight. We have some Ling main game ready, getting poised to dive in. Stasis trap is baited out. No more force fields. Decent connections. Decent baiting connections on the Adepts. Dark is being forced back behind this. With those range upgrades, it makes sense to go into Lurker Tech. Lurker Den is on the way. Locust Wave coming in once again. Is collapsing on the army. Can we get the Colossi? He's going for it. Up. Goes to the dive and he will not get the Colossi. Not the first one though. Yeah, the overcharge is popped in time. NightMare holds. NightMare does hold. No call with his pants down. Not this time. Not 2 times in a row. But again, the goal here for Dark is to just buy time to keep NightMare busy, keep him pinned back at home while he builds up his lurkers. And then by the time NightMare counterattacks, there's going to be a wall of lurkers waiting for him, and NightMare won't be able to pull anything off. To be fair though, that's why we have a fleet beacon. It would be ideal to start working towards something like a Skytoss transition. We're not there yet though. We have a mothership, but nothing else. I would love to see like a second and a third Stargate. NightMare is on 4 bases, does snipe the Nidus. The Locust Wave is going to buy some time. But these Swarm Hosts, they are left alone. They are vulnerable. The Nidus is going to finish up. It's going to be close. Does he escape? He does. Whew. So close there. The Swarm Hosts, they do manage to get away. 1 Swarm Host went down. NightMare looking to push out. How many lurkers do we have? 3. Soon to be 6. Not enough. 6 lurkers. It's okay. Not a bad count. We're looking for more. Spire in production as well. I do love this. Again, getting ready for the Sky Toss. Speaking of, there it is. We have +1 air attack and 2 more Stargates on the way. I do think that this transition is a little bit late though. I think we could have thrown this down like a minute or 2 ago. Could have been earlier there for NightMare. He's pushing in. He runs into the lurkers. Big spy shots going up. Oof. A lot of stalkers going down. You can see how bruised this army is only from the lurkers. My brain keeps wanting to say Lucas. God damn it. Yeah, there's plenty of lurkers in position. There's no pushing in, not with the ground army. It's not gonna happen. We are at least able to clear up all this creep. Still run by is met with by these roaches. Nice swarms are on the way, but NightMare, he does come across it once again. Again, very good map awareness here by NightMare. Able to keep up with most of these Nidus worms. Behind this, carrier production has commenced. We have one carrier so far, but we're building it up. Getting into that sky toss. Getting into that late game. As a reminder, as we're getting to carrier production, we have one Spire, now a second Spire on the way, and we're already working on upgrades for the Corruptors. So Dark, he's already getting ready for that scenario. For that Corruptor transition. So really good foresight here out of Dark. I love that NightMare has been so active, there's almost no creep. There's basically zero creep here towards the south. There's a couple of active tumors here towards the north, but there's barely any map vision here for Dark. That is going to make it easier for NightMare to rotate between the bases when he does get his Sky Toss out. Meanwhile, Zella drop into the main. NightMare is maxed out, so he can't warp in. A warp in would have been beautiful there, but NightMare is on 200 supply. So no warp-ins available. Locust Wave does hit top right. It looks like we get the Nexus. I was praising NightMare earlier for being able to keep up with the Nidus worms, but alas, he is unable to keep up with those swarm hosts. Base goes down. Big pickup. Yeah, Dark. He didn't even Nidus, by the way. He just walked across the map. he just waddled across the map. Got the Locust Wave off. Meanwhile, that's a lot of cannons. That's a lot of side defense on the way. I hope you're ready. Settle yourselves in for the late game. We're getting walls of cannons and shield batteries, both towards the south and soon towards the north as well. NightMare is turtling up. Dark once again rotating around with his Locust, or with his Swarm Host. Is spotted by the Observer. NightMare in position. We can maybe get one cannon, if that. Oh, not quite. Don't even lose the cannon. So Locust Wave runs out. Dark now able to gain some ground here towards the north, but NightMare has eyes on this. He has the Observer. He should be on the way to shut this down, as Dark is desperately trying to respread that creep. Oh, the Swarmers, they get caught. Oh. NightMare does force them back. Does get one. Gets two. Two Swarmers go down. Good pickups. Meanwhile, getting into Viper production. Ultra Cavern on the way. Just a bit of everything. There's no Greater Spire yet. It is a little bit too soon for that, but once we get into 2-2 air upgrades, we should be working towards Greater Spire to eventually get into Corruptor Broodlord. Not that many cannons here, but we do have the cloak. With that cloak, there is no detection, and the Locust Wave does nothing. Good defense here by NightMare. Very nicely done. Again, showing the utility of a single mothership. Does defend the base. Coming back in, looking at the army sizes, we have 6 carriers for Colossi. I believe Storm is done. Yep, Storm is done. Plenty of High Templar on the ground. This is a pretty beefy army. Looking quite solid. Oh my god! The Stalkers! Oh my, almost every single Stalker goes down. Massive spine shots going off. NightMare just running into those lurkers, face checking. That was a meat grinder. Ay, ay, ay. Thankfully, he doesn't lose any High Templar, but that was brutal. Now we're getting to Archons. To be fair, I'm sure we wanted to get rid of those Stalkers, but not like that. As we pounce on those Archons, we get one of them. Oh, almost get a second. Almost do get a second. Again, at this point, Dark should be transitioning out of these Swarm Hosts. They were necessary early on because of the disrupted build. And we can see NightMare killing his own Colossi, making room. Stark is rotating around. He's trying to catch this Void Ray. Doesn't quite find it though. Meanwhile, the main army rotates over towards the south. This forward base, it's gonna go down. There are plenty of lurkers though. How many? 21 lurkers? Jesus. That's a lot of lunkers, papi. And are we going to commit? NightMare does rotate around. Local Save hits the northern base. Is going to be able to shoot through some of these cannons. Show us the yoinks. We got the mothership. Mothership and a Colossus as well. Minus 300, minus 300. Mothership goes down. A good catch. We even get a High Templar. Bit of miscontrol there from NightMare. High Templar goes down. Meanwhile, towards the north, we did clean up the cannons, but only the cannons is being rebuilt. As the lurkers, they are slightly out of position. The big spine shot's going to be going off here on the Archons. We got one. Oof. Got some High Templar as well. See here, that was 3 High Templar going down. How many do we have left? 4. I believe 2 with the main army. At the same time, Zealot run by. Ooh, does get a base. Okay, the hatchery is going to go down. Big pick up there by NightMare. At the same time, Locust Wave this time is coming in, and there aren't as many cannons as there once were. Go Storm. Rotating around, getting on top of the hatchery. And the hatchery getting low. And a big snipe here. NightMare, he kills the northern and the southern base. Meanwhile, across the map, Locust Wave mainly dealt with the mainly dealt with the stack defense. Spine shots going off. We clean up every single Archon. We can dive on top of the army. NightMare not respecting those lurkers. He throws away his ground army, and now we can keep pushing. Oh, the Parabomb. Parabomb takes down the carrier, and Dark, he's on the hunt. He knows that there's only one Archon. And without Archons, there's nothing stopping the Corruptors from diving in. Yeah, that's what the Archons are for. That's what the Storms are for. But Dark, he has momentum. Diving in. High Templar goes down. Do we get a Storm off? But yeah, we're going to be cleaning up that Skytoss army. The Overcharge putting in a lot of work. Yeah, but the carriers are going down one after the other. The Lurkers are going to be falling, though. Yes, more carriers have arrived. Locust Wave does come in. We're running out of Corruptors. And it looks like we barely... Do we have enough? We do! There's one more carrier. We snipe it. Dark backs off, and Dark, he's remaxing instantly with Corruptor Lurker. Lurker? Sorry, with Corruptor Ultra. I'm so used to saying Lurkers. Aye. Again, the Lurker count was reset. Getting into Ultras, rushing into a massling army. And NightMare, he attempts to expand, but alas, these bases are so vulnerable. Where are the cannons? Where are the shield batteries? They were cleaned up earlier, and they were not rebuilt. And this Link Flood, it's getting out of hand, getting out of control. We don't have +3 melee, but it is going to be enough regardless. Clean up the Zealots. We go for the High Templar. We got one. We force the Archon. At the same time, Locust Wave is coming in, and NightMare, he's being pulled apart. We killed 26 probes and a Nexus, and we're getting even more than that. Because this southern Nexus is going to fall as well. And this center base. 3 bases go down. Aye. Again, this is all off of the back of NightMare overextending earlier and pushing into those lurkers. As soon as NightMare lost his ground army, that was go time for Dark. Again, Skytoss on its own is not good enough. It does need support. With its Archons, with its Storm. In this case, Immortals, as we're making 3 Immortals at a time. Again, the Immortals are a response to the Ultras. But NightMare, he's out of steam. He's running out of steam, he's running out of gas and minerals. NightMare, he's stuck at 113 supply. No mineral bank. Barely any mining going on right now. He desperately needs a base. And Dark isn't going to give it to him. Nice catch. We get an Immortal. Lings once again coming in. Dark, has he seen the Nexus? Not yet. Hasn't seen the base. How many carriers? We have 8 carriers. And Dark is on 14 Corruptors. We could do with some more Corruptors. We definitely could, but again, we are maxed out. We have more Lurkers on the way. NightMare is looking to break out. And Dark, he's responding with his army. Has to be careful not to be too premature. But he's rotating over. His Lurkers are kept towards the south. Looks like Dark, he's expecting a Zealot run by. So the Lurkers are in position. Storm is on the way. NightMare, he is slowly getting this base up and running, but he needs more time. And Dark should soon be pushing. Let's finish. We could be seeing a Locust Wave on the way here towards the north. Oh, no, never mind, towards the south instead. That is still a lot of cannons to work through, so it's going to take a while. We're getting there, though. Bailey's rolling in. Bailey's there trying to get past those Locust Waves, and there we go. We get it. We bust into the cannons. We're gaining ground at the same time. The Northern Night Swarm does get shut down. But there was once a wall of cannons, not anymore. And now here come the Ultras. And the 1-2 punch. Ultras are busting in. And do we have a recall? NightMare, he's not going for the recall. He gives up on the base. Which is brutal. NightMare, he's going down to 1 base economy. He's forced to push in. Lurkers are rotating. Do yoink an Immortal, but at last it will escape. Nexus did fall. Yeah, NightMare, he's stuck here on his 1 final base. He's trying to take top right. That's not a bad base to go for. As the Ultras, they did not turn around. They're threatening the natural. NightMare turning all the way back home. He does expose these bases. I'm a little bit concerned. We do have a recall, thankfully. The NightMare, he's pushing towards the south. His army is spotted. And yeah, as NightMare pushes in, Dark likewise moves out to that center base, forces the recall. This is a base NightMare can't afford to lose. If you lose that center base, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be the loss of that top right base as well. Ultras, they come in for another counter attack, another run by. Remember, NightMare, he can't recall, not anymore. It's on cooldown. There is no recall available. Ultras doing what they can. They're being cleaned up. They do mow through a lot. Oh my god, they take down the Stalkers. The Ultras, they come out on top of there in that fight. They force back the army. Once again. Yeah, Dark, he's just all over NightMare here. All over him. Forcing him this way and that. Pulling him apart, catching a couple of stray workers here and there. Dark, he's expanding towards the bottom left. Even soon to be taking some of NightMare's old bases. Now, NightMare, he is on a 2-base economy. He can sustain himself a little bit longer here. Like, this army is still something to be respected. It is 3-3. It is 8 carriers. Plenty of Archons as well. Dark is taking it slow. Does have 3-3 of his own. Does not have a Greater Spire. Bear that in mind. Ooh, as a Bailey Rumbai gets in, 17 probes go down. Ay, ay, ay. A massive bust. NightMare, he's down to 26 probes. And we're going in. We got one. We're yoink one carrier, a second carrier as well, a third carrier. We're getting picked apart. Alright, Templar we're out of position. Feedbacks were too late. Bailey Rumbai once again. Into the mineral line. And it's all or nothing for NightMare. Zealot Rumbai is gaining ground. We're getting into a mineral line. Drones are falling. We catch some reinforcements. Zealot's doing quite a lot, actually. And forcing Dark to respond. Meanwhile, the Vipers are ready for some more abductions. Preemptive Storm. We do feedback one of the Vipers, but the other is topped up. And the Locust Wave, we're going for the kill. We're going for the Nexus. I spoke too soon. It was on Emu. We'll threaten the base. Now, 15 drones did go down to the Zealot Rumbai, which is pretty substantial, but the Nexus goes down. We're down to one mining base. Again. Not like this. And here comes the Ling Rumbai. Oof. We catch more workers. NightMare, it's a tough position to be in. Just stuck out on the map. Shield battery goes down. NightMare, he's racing back home. He's trying to at least. As a lurker has arrived, we don't have detection. There we go. We force the recall. Only one carrier and the observer. We do hold. Locust Wave is going to be hitting that triangular third. No mining going on whatsoever. But we get some cannons, and it's just been a slow, methodical kill here of NightMare. A slow, methodical death. As again, NightMare, he still has a terrifying army, which is why Dark isn't like aping in. If he loses a fight, then NightMare can very quickly go for a base trade. So it is quite scary. It is quite terrifying. So Dark has just been systematically denying bases over and over again, getting into mineral lines, sniping tech, just harassing NightMare to death. Even here, we get an Archon. And NightMare, he just hasn't been able to do anything. I mean, he had a pretty successful Zealot Rumbai earlier, but outside of that, has been looking to try to catch the army off guard. I feel like this maybe would be a different scenario if NightMare had his mothership. Like, this army, as you can see here, it's so immobile. Outside of recalls, it's so difficult to bounce between bases, which is why the mothership adds so much more flexibility to this army. But it was never rebuilt. It's never rebuilt. And the Ling Rumbai, it's going to take down the natural base. We bust into the main. And I can't believe that these Swarm hosts have been alive the entire game, by the way. It's not like we've rebuilt and reinvested into them. Right, they've been doing well. Only 5 Swarm hosts died this game. The rest, they've stood strong, stood the test of time. Just non-stop aggression, non-stop harassment, non-stop value as they kill the final base. No more mining. Zero economy here for NightMare. Fleet peaking goes down. NightMare, he's down to 2 Nexi and 0 mining. Probes are coming back. No! The probes, get out of here. They're trying to make it back home. They're going to be zoned away, and we're going for the kill. The Lunkers, they're coming in. The probes, they make it. They do make it back. And it looks like NightMare, he's finally going to get the fight that he was looking for, but it's too little too late for that. We have a wall of spines, sorry, a wall of spores. Lurkers with their spines. Locust Wave comes in. Let's go. The probes are a part of the fight. Let's go. NightMare, he's gaining ground working through this Spore Forest. Ooh, we take a lot of spine shots to the face. A lot of lurker shots. And we lose 1, 2 Archons. Big powerbomb here on the carries. We go for the dive. And there's just too much in the air. We clean up the carriers. They all go down. Do we have a Greater Spire? We still don't have a Greater Spire, so there's no Broodlords. Unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. GG gets called. There's 1 Archon left, and Dark will take the series 2-1, advancing on to the Grand Finals. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Dark as he does take the series in the end. This was a pretty wild game though. As a reminder, initially Dark went for a Link Queen Nidus all-in, which got scouted, and his opponent happened to be going for Glaven Eps. So the Link Queen Nidus all-in was completely denied. As a result, he pivoted away from that and went into Swarm Host. Because he already had the Nidus Worm, Swarm Host made plenty of sense, and Dark initially wasn't getting damage done with them, but over time he gained value. He was able to get into lurker play, able to get into a longer later game with 5-6 bases. Did make it that far, and yeah, NightMare did feel like he was one step behind. I feel like he had the opportunity to get into Skytross a lot faster, but NightMare never quite did commit until a little bit later on, and by then it was a little bit too late. Dark had so much map control. GG. GG, well played. We have our 2 finalists. Let's go. We have our 2 finalists here. It is going to be Dark versus Cure in a best of 5.